It is time to talk the business of sports in Houston with Chandler France from the Houston Business Journal. Good to see you. A little bit off our once-a-month schedule, but we'll get there. We'll get there.
Great to see you again.
Likewise.
As always.
Yes, yes. I think front and center right now, the big thing is the Texans and their new game day food and beverages and the experience. We were over at NRG. And one thing that obviously stands out that fans will notice is the video board. They are saying that they've quadrupled the resolution and doubled the impact. But the one question that wasn't on here is who's paying for it or who paid for it?
Yes. Yeah, Harris County paid for these renovations along with the sound system, the new sound system that they just put in as well. And so this was a project done by Harris County using revenue refunding bonds backed by hotel occupancy taxes.
And that was big because obviously everyone talks about NRG and the age, and we're basically going to have to improve it to keep up with the Joneses, the Jerry Joneses, and other facilities. What's the sense that you're getting from the Texans and other stakeholders in this on where NRG is right now and how they feel about it?
Yeah, I mean, it's far behind other NFL venues. I think that was shown in the study last year showing that it needs $1.4 billion in maintenance. And so video boards and the sound system was technically part of that maintenance. Yes, they are an upgrade, but they were both at the end of their lives. And so there's a lot of other systems at NRG Stadium that are at or near the end of their lives that need replacing. And for fans, that'll look like an upgrade, but really they're needed because a lot of things aren't necessarily falling apart, but they're getting close to that level.
And the last thing you want is, during game day, the video board not working. What was your big takeaway from Mike Tolman, the Texans team president, on what he had to say to reporters about some of the upgrades for the fan experience in 2025?
Yeah, it's something that's been repeated a lot, I think, over the past couple of years, which is getting fans early into the games. He repeated that sentiment again, and with the food, with the sound system, with the video board, he wants everything to come together and get fans in early so that that home field advantage is truly an advantage.
Yeah, we don't see the advantage start happening in the second or third quarter. Well, second quarter. I thought that obviously Mike, to no one's surprise, was saying that, again, our standard is to have best-in-class type of experience for our fans, our customers, our stakeholders, the people who are into all of this. And thus far, it seems to be, at least on the surface, for what we're expecting in 2025, that they are making another step, in the right direction when it comes to this stuff. Mike also was a part of this new food and beverage rollout, if you will. We've also seen, I think, teams and stadiums and vendors really try to embrace the local food scene, and it appears like that the Texans have done that, again, with the addition of a couple of new vendors, at the very least, from what I saw on the handout.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I feel like that's something you see a lot with MLB stadiums is you see them really tying into the local scene, but especially some of the over-the-top things. And you certainly saw some of the over-the-top and more unique things on the other day when we saw some of the food items there. I know one of the things I tried was some Cajun nachos with some crawfish in there. So not something you'd normally eat, I don't think. I'm not sure you'd find that anywhere else other than NRG Stadium, but those are the type of things you're doing to innovate for this season.
All right. Well, I think that right now is the time where we should talk a little bit about what we experienced there. The general concessions, now, not all of these are available on the same level. So depending on where you sit, that's where your access will be for some of this stuff. Hummus Oasis. Did you have the Hummus Oasis?
I didn't, but if I was there for longer, I think I should have. It sounds pretty good to me.
It was pretty good. It was marinated cherry tomatoes, cucumbers, feta in a hummus, and they had some chips. The deviled eggs and caviar.
See, I'm not a deviled eggs guy.
Me either, so I passed on that one.
With the caviar, I don't know. It's still not too attractive.
The Texas Heat Shrimp, the Gulf Bucket Royale. Is that what you had, Ben? No, you had the crawfish queso?
Yes,
Okay.
That's right.
All right. Millionaire chicken lollipops. Did you have those?
I didn't.
Oh,
I saw
what is
a
wrong
lot of
with you?
people with it though. I am sad that I didn't get to try it. I saw everybody going over to that stand there.
That was good. Millionaire chicken lollipops I thought was good. I thought the steakhouse slider melts were good.
Yep.
The club level, they're offering the hula hog nachos, the most valuable porky, the pigskin pileup, and the Chris Shepherd's Wagyu chopped cheesesteak. Did you have any of the funnel cake stuff? Now that's part of the general concessions. Did you have the funnel cake?
I did not know. I didn't get into the dessert this time around.
Come on.
I'll be at some games this year. You know, I'll have to try a little bit of everything here and there.
The funnel cake apple pie I thought was pretty good, and then the hot honey chicken funnel cake fries.
Hot honey seems to be the trend now.
Yeah, that's the hot thing. Yeah, that's the hot thing these days. And it's interesting. We talk about the renovations, and obviously it will involve or has to involve a partnership. And recently, the University of Houston, right? The University of Houston did a study, and some of the findings from that were interesting, but also maybe not interesting. What were your big takeaways from that?
Yeah, it's a little bit surprising and not surprising. So about 75% of respondents to this survey said that they're willing to use some amount of money towards NRG Stadium. Now, that is a big number. Maybe given certain trends that we see nowadays, that seems surprising. The more important part, I think, there is that about 50% said that they only want to use less than 40% of the total cost should be funded using public dollars. And so, as you well know, when NRG Stadium was first built, about 60% of the costs were paid for by the public, 40% by the Texans themselves. The residents in this survey are essentially flipping that, saying we only want between either 1 and 20% or 20 to 40%. And so that certainly aligns with trends we're seeing around the country where there is public support, but it's a lot less than what it used to be in terms of the dollar figure.
Oh, without a doubt, because you have these owners. Listen, when you have these owners and these teams worth billions, I think the public sentiment is, okay, you have the money, you should pay for most of it. So I think that does indeed fall in line with what we're seeing nationwide and the trends nationally. I thought voter support, likely tied to strong public favorability for the Texans and Rodeo Houston, 73%, 81% approval ratings. Those seem to be, I would imagine, if the people who go, they're going to be in support of things like this.
Yeah, absolutely. There's strong support for both of those organizations. It comes at a great time for the Texans, obviously doing a lot of winning on the field the past 2 seasons with C.J. Stroud and Will Anderson there. And so that certainly helps with your favorability. And then everybody always loves the rodeo. And so the favorability plays well for the public's willingness to want to spend public dollars on the stadium.
And then the Astrodome.
What's going to happen? That's the question. That remains to be the question, but there does seem to be some public support for a public-private partnership there, which is also maybe surprising, maybe not surprising. If you're a longtime Houston resident, you're probably supportive of that because you want to see something done with the Astrodome. If you are not a longtime resident and you're just seeing the Astrodome as, you know, I've heard it described as an eyesore, let's just say that, then maybe you're like, I don't want a public-private partnership at all because I want it to be demolished. And so there's certainly mixed feelings there. I believe it's 62% support using a public-private partnership.
So a little more than half.
Yeah, and 38 opposed. And so there certainly is support there. But notably, the question wasn't asked whether or not we want to do something with the Astrodome. The question was, to what extent would you support or oppose using public funds as part of a public-private partnership? And so we don't really know if the public wants it there. We just know that there is support that if a public-private partnership were to happen, seems to be that the public would be willing to fork over some money for that.
And speaking of, I guess this would fall under this category of public-private partnership, is now what we're seeing with the Herman Park Golf Course, that the Astros Golf Foundation, they are going to pour $30 to $35 million to help redesign the course, add new facilities. What were the Astros telling you about why this is important to them? Yeah,
this is not to be too punny here, but par for the course for Jim Crane. he loves to invest into the community, and he loves golf. Certainly with the Houston Open and with what he already did at Memorial Park, Memorial Park Golf Course, with the Memorial Park Conservancy over there. So this is kind of a repeat of what they did over there. They're adding a new clubhouse, a new driving range, a first tee facility there, a maintenance facility, and they're completely redesigning the golf course itself. And so it's a major facelift, and it's kind of par for the course for what Crane likes to do in the Houston community here.
And Giles Kibbe said to you, who is the head of the Golf Foundation, that Jim wants the average golfer, the beginning golfer, and the really good golfer to go out on a city course and be able to pay low greens fees and play at a great golf course in first-class condition. There's also, I believe, driving range, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're going to expand the driving range there as well?
Yeah, and that's something that was really important over at Memorial Park, too, is that they expanded the driving range there, and it's generated pretty much double the amount of revenue that it was before. And that revenue is going into the maintenance of the golf course. And so it's the same idea here with Herman Park. They're going to expand the driving range there so that it'll generate some more revenue and the park can be kept a little bit better.
Also worth mentioning that Astros owner Jim Crane has been named the Lifetime Achievement Award winner for the Houston Business Journal's 2025 Most Admired CEO Awards, and Jim will be on hand, correct?
Yep.
And Kevin Eschenfelder, Astros member of Space City Home Network, will be having a chat. That is on a week from today, right? Next Thursday?
Yep, August 21st over at the Post Oak Hotel.
All right. So Jim Crane, I think when you look at Jim Crane and what he's done, it's pretty obvious why he is so admired and the things that he's been able to accomplish. But, you know, there's always going to be missteps along the way. And I'm sure Jim would be the first to tell you that. What makes him so admired? Is it simply, in your mind, just the fact that his teams have won at a very high level, and also he's poured so much money into the community?
I think it's a combination of both those things for sure. I mean, winning helps. I think any team owner will tell you that no matter what. But he has been really active in the community, and so that's really important for not only the employees of the Astros, but just residents of Harris County, of Houston. And in the few times that I've talked to him, every time he mentions really caring for his employees and wanting to make sure that the Astros organization is a good place to work at. And so I think the combination of those three things really make him admired here in the Houston area.
So again, Jim Crane will be honored at the HBJ's Most Admired CEO Award Luncheon on August 21st at the Post Oak Hotel. He's also been recognized by the Texas Business Hall of Fame, the Missouri Sports Hall of Fame, the St. Louis Sports Hall of Fame, and M.D. Anderson. He was also a heck of a pitcher, by the way. I think your hardcore Astros fans would know that, but he was one heck of a pitcher. And his school where he went, Central Missouri, they always come here every season, beginning of the season, to play a preseason event with other Division II schools. And that is something that continues to be a very cool thing for those players because, listen, it's Division II. Great baseball being played. I'm not going to deny that. But the fact that probably there's less than maybe 10 or 15 guys a year from Division II drafted, that's quite a big deal for them. Also, I think worth noting that since the last time we talked is the Fort Bend Epicenter, which is relatively, I would call it new, right? Would you say relatively new facility?
Opened August 2023, so just 2 years old now.
Okay, so August 2023, and this is in Rosenberg.
Mm-hmm.
Its previous or ongoing tenant is Love Volleyball.
Yep.
Of course, the professional volleyball team league, the Houston team, is based out of there. But now we're going to be seeing some college basketball, not just any college basketball, but we're talking high-level college basketball with U of H. And I would imagine that this is the start of this facility trying to not assert itself, but establish itself within the Houston landscape as a place to be for Houston sports events.
That is 100% correct. This is kind of the start of it. This is the beginning of it. Obviously, getting teams in there like the University of Houston and Texas A&M as well, getting those good local teams is huge. It is a preseason game, which should be noted.
Yeah.
But the goal is next year that they'll do something similar, but with a regular season game, and then they want to just skyrocket from there into other sorts of events.
And based on your reporting, it seemed like they had tried to do something before and it just didn't work out.
Yeah. They didn't really disclose what had happened, but they tried to do this last year. But that shows that there's definitely interest in this. There's interest in the facility, and there's interest in bringing these types of events there.
And I think that given that Houston basketball now is one of the hardest tickets to get. I mean, they are not cheap, the University of Houston basketball games, partly because the arena is not massive. This is a really good opportunity, I think, for Houston sports fans to see basketball in a facility like this. And I don't want to say it's more economical, but I think there's probably a little bit more possibility of your average fan of getting a ticket because it's a preseason event. But you're also talking Mississippi State, Texas A&M, and Arizona State. And again, this is going to be October 26th. So it's one thing when we deal with Kelvin Sampson a lot. Kelvin Sampson says the team you are in October is definitely not the team you are in April or certainly March and May. So U of H will certainly be figuring things out as as they do. That's what teams and programs do. They are trying to figure things out early on in the season. So you're going to see some really good basketball. Obviously, with these four programs and also the talent, future NBA players. So that's definitely a win. And as far as the event itself, is it a situation where a private company then is facilitating this to get these programs on board to be here and to participate in this event?
That's correct. Yeah, it's being hosted by United Sports and Entertainment. They're actually a Houston-based firm, and so that's probably why they have the interest in U of H and Texas A&M there. So yeah, they're hosting it. They're bringing it to the Fort Bend Epicenter, and the venue there is really excited to have it.
All right, and now we should be talking World Cup as well because it's getting closer and closer and closer. What do you know about what Ted Segal has done? Of course, Ted Segal, being the owner of the Dynamo and Dash, purchased a property in East Downtown. What can you tell us about Ted's plans for this?
Well, they're still very preliminary.
Okay.
But essentially what he wants to do, he bought a vacant building. It's about 13,000 square feet on Texas Avenue. It's about a block from Shell NRG Stadium in EaDo. It is outside the official World Cup fan festival, which should be noted. But he wants to turn it into a climate-controlled area for fans to gather for the World Cup, but also for Dynamo and Dash games afterwards.
So when you say a climate-controlled gathering spot, this will probably or could be, I don't know how much he mentioned, like a mixed use where maybe it's a situation where you have like a bar or restaurant or something like that, and maybe there's offices on the higher floors. I'm not even familiar with the building. Maybe you could tell us more about it.
Yeah, it's a one-story building. It's connected to another building.
Okay, so that won't be happening. All right, yes.
Unless he wants to build an office on top.
Yeah, okay,
he certainly could, but maybe not for this time around. But yes, one-story building. It's connected to a coffee shop, I believe, but another commercial building there. But yeah, I'm imagining restaurants, drinks, air conditioning, which for the World Cup obviously is important, and also for Dynamo Dash because they also play in the heat of the summer here in Houston.
And this isn't his first foray into this area either.
Nope. He also acquired the Dynamo, I should say, and Dash's new headquarters over there as well near Shell NRG Stadium, and so he's been buying up property and putting it to good use.
And finally, let's touch on basketball here in the Houston area. We obviously have the Rockets, and we've had the Comets, and I'm going to go way back, and we've had the Mavericks from the ABA, which didn't last long. But there has been one staple probably in the last 30 years or so, or more, 40, and that has been basketball players going to Fonde Rec Center, the Fonde Community Center. We've seen players like Moses Malone and Akeem and Clyde Drexler and other pros go there and play. So what's happening now at Fonde, and why is it newsworthy?
Yeah, so for the past 10 years, they've been hosting the No Excuses Pro League. It's a pro amateur league over there, and they continue to get professional basketball players. They've got a women's league and a men's league. I've been told that the women's league, about half of the women's players are current professionals. The other half are former professionals. And on the men's side, it's even greater. It's about 80% are professional players who are playing in the summer league. We've had James Harden there. We've had Tari Eason there. And so it continues to be a legendary space for the community.
And what is the sales pitch for Fonde to bring these players there, and why play there during the off season or when they're training?
Because it's a competitive environment. I think when you've got so many professional players there, you know that you're going to get that player development. You know you're going to hone your skills. It's not your average pro-am league. It's certainly not your average 24-hour fitness league. That's for sure.
Yeah.
I know we see some players take to public courts, and this is a very unique public court because of the amount of professional players it gets.
Yeah, and of course, sometimes when you're taking it to public courts, you're going to get guys who, well, this is my chance to show so-and-so. But you're reporting about 80% of the players on the men's side are professionals, while the rest are in high school, college, or former pros. And about half of the women's players are current professionals as well. How many games per week are we seeing there roughly?
We're seeing about 16 games per week, and about 100 games over the course of the whole season.
Wow. And then the games are played, I imagine, mostly weekends?
Yeah, Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays between, I want to say, June and August is when the season runs.
Yeah, that makes sense. Sure. Throughout the summer. So there you have it. So that is everything you need to know right now about what's happening business-wise in Houston and the surrounding areas, courtesy of Chandler France from the Houston Business Journal. Chandler, as always, thank you for coming in, and we look forward to your next visit.
Yeah, thank you for having me as always.